Few voices in industrial music hit as hard as Al Jourgensen's. Today we're diving into the vocal techniques Ministry used back in the day, and we're going to recreate that sound. Al Jourgensen's vocal style evolved over the years. From synth-pop to industrial metal, early on his vocals were clean and melodic. Then came The Land of Rape and Honey, The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, and Psalm 69, an era defined by distortion,
pitch shifting,
and flanger. Later, during the Filth Pig era, the distortion was toned down in favor of wide and doubled vocals, similar to Ozzy, Manson, or Rob Zombie. But today we're diving into that raw and brutal era, the late 80s and early 90s era. Al Jourgensen's vocals are built on two main elements, distortion and creative effects. But first, let's talk about the distortion. Engineer Keith Fluffy Orbach, this name, who worked on albums such as The Land of Rape and Honey and The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, had a cool trick for distorting vocals. He'd take a DBX 160 compressor, turn off the actual compression, then crank the output all the way up. That made the vocal signal clip and distort. After that, he'd run it through another compressor to tame the levels a bit and fine-tune the tone. It was a creative way to get that in-your-face vocal effect that Ministry became known for. I did get to work with this guy, Fluffy. He's the guy who engineered The Land of Rape and Honey and The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste. I learned a lot from him. There's one vocal processing thing I still use today on every metal record I do. You take a 160 and turn the threshold all the way off. Then you turn the ratio all the way down so there's no compression at all, and then turn the output all the way up to where it distorts. Then you send it to another 160 or any other compressor. Another wild trick they used on Twitch this time, a trick I don't recommend at all. During a session in London with co-producer Adrian Sherwood, a mic preamp blew up mid-recording. After that, Al intentionally started overloading and frying mic preamps just to get that same effect. It came out pretty distorted and we just went with it, he explains. After that, I would buy pre-mics, immediately overload them and blow them up. Ministry also used Eventide harmonizers, starting with the H949 and especially the H3000 Ultra Harmonizer. You can hear these effects in tracks like NWO, for example, or Burning Inside, which has a lot of flanger. They were also using the H3000 for live shows. According to this user on Mudwiggler forum, I saw a Ministry show from behind the mixing boards in '96, and it was all Eventide from what I could tell, and it was spot on, a real thing of beauty. In an Eventide artist spotlight video, Al Jourgensen discusses his use of Eventide gear.
I don't go anywhere without my Eventides. I don't record anything without my Eventides. I'm not being forced to say this. I'm not a hostage. I've been using Eventides for 35 years now. I've never left you since. I've been a faithful husband. I love Eventide.
Jourgensen's approach to vocal processing was as much about artistic expression as it was about sound engineering, pushing equipment to its limits. Now that we know how they did it back then, let's fire up Cubase and try to recreate that brutal Ministry vocal sound. To get great vocals, you need a great vocalist. So I asked my friend Ryan, who I've been making music with for 20 years. Here are the vocals that we'll be working with. Bonus points if you can guess the song.
How to love without a trace of dissent. I'll buy the toast if you can pay for the rent. Flying high with the public in hand. I'm in love with the promised land.
First, I cleaned up the signal with some EQ and added heavy compression to make it brighter in the high end and more controlled.
How to love without a trace of dissent. I'll buy the tours if you can pay for the rent. Flying high with the public in hand. I'm in love with the promised land.
To mimic the DBX 160's output distortion trick, I went straight for a distortion plugin.
How to love without a trace of dissent. I'll buy the tours if you can pay for the rent.
The real game changer was adding the H3000 emulation plugin for that signature pitch shifting effect.
How to love without a trace of dissent. I'll buy the tours if you can pay for the rent. Flying high with the public in hand. I'm in love with the promised land.
On top of that, I loaded up another H3000, this time dialing in a flanger preset to get that classic wobble. Check out the name of the preset, Industrial Easter Egg.
How to love without a trace of dissent. I'll buy the tours if you can pay for the rent. Flying high with the public in hand. I'm in love with the promised land.
Finally, I used Arturia's pre-1973 for some vintage color and a bit of extra top-end sparkle.
How to love without a trace of dissent. I'll buy the tours if you can pay for the rent.
Alright, full mix time.